welcome to a Podful of Saints on Bank Holiday Monday, the 1st of May 2023. I can't sit here all afternoon. It's going to do me blooming knees in. I'm past that sort of fun. Right, that's a bit premature, that flag, of course, but hopefully in a couple of weeks' time. Yes, a Podful of Saints, as we said there. We're looking back on Saturday's 2-0 win over Farnborough with myself, David Tavener, and over there, shaking his head, Jake Ellacott, who works at Hatfield Poly, so won't be used to working at 11 o'clock in the morning. Morning, Jake.
Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much.
And far more studious, Lee Wood, head of Ember Designs. It could be a bit tender today, though, couldn't you? This morning, couldn't you, Lee?
Head of Ember Designs, head of the Kevin Mudd drinking until 1 a.m. Appreciation Society, I believe. But yes, good afternoon, boys. Hope you're all well.
And for the end of the normal league season, we have a guest. No, we have a special guest. The Herts Advertiser's very own Tottenham supporting Geordie, Neil Metcalfe.
How are we, everyone? Good to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you, Neil. Neil, how did the folks back home take Tottenham 6-1 stuffing against Newcastle the other day?
Oh, they were delighted, and it took them about 10 minutes to get on the phone to us and spend the next 7 hours texting. And yeah, it was. It's always a fun day when Tottenham get thumped off Newcastle. It's not the first time; it's about the third time I remember in the last 20 years. So no, I'm used to it now.
If you're looking for some company, wrong sort of company, Dylan Berry, his family are from Geordie land, and they're Newcastle supporters, so they can rub it in. Should you bother to make it to any of our playoffs?
I'll stay away from them tomorrow night.
Don't blame me. Right, tomorrow night we'll come on to in a minute. First of all, last Saturday, we rounded up our season with a 2-0 win over Farnborough, which secured our place in the playoffs, as it was. Having at Waterlooville got thumped 3-0 at home, so it didn't matter what we did on Saturday, we were already in the playoffs. A comfortable win. Farnborough blew out during the week with a defeat at home to Tunbridge, so they were out of the reckoning. And once we were ahead, Callum Adebiyi's goal on the stroke of half time, it was pretty much game over. Is that how it seemed behind the goal, Jake?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought overall we were pretty much in control the whole day, weren't we? Farnborough didn't offer much. I think, their manager spoke after their game on Tuesday night saying how knackered they were and how he wasn't really looking forward to Saturday. And I think you saw that. And I think the most fight they showed was when we scored our second goal from the penalty. That seemed to be the most passion they showed all day. Otherwise, it was just a bit of a procession, wasn't it? First 20 minutes, we didn't create a lot. And I thought the first 20, it wasn't particularly working. We weren't really getting on the ball and going forward. But then something just clicked, and we started to create openings, started to create chances. And after first goal, it never really felt like it was going to go wrong, did it?
I guess you were behind the goal as well, Lee, and your very bright shirt you had on Saturday. And I imagine you were never really concerned about the way the game was going. We always seemed in control there, as Jake said.
Absolutely, but I always felt we had a few more gears in us if we needed to. Really, it was quite pedestrian, but in like a comforting sort of way. We didn't need to exert ourselves particularly. All the key players played in the key areas, and I think we stretched Farnborough really, really well. I don't think they had an answer for Mitchell early doors or Cooper, to be fair. But other than that, yeah, it was relatively comfortable, and I think it was just a nice day. It was a nice atmosphere, and although it wasn't exactly exhilarating football, I think we were good value for the win.
You sent me a text before the kick-off, Jake. You were somewhat surprised at the lineup. No Glenn McConnell and no Shaun Jeffers. You obviously weren't happy with that, or you were surprised anyway?
More surprised. I wasn't terribly surprised by Glenn McConnell, I'll be honest. It was more Shaun Jeffers myself. I thought after the impact he had at Dartford and after so many games this season, the impact he's had, that was a real surprise. And in a big game when the pressure was on, it worked out. You can say, but yeah, I think there was a lot of Saints fans going into the game when they saw that lineup thinking, this does have some banana skin potential still.
As it was, I thought we created plenty of chances, Lee, didn't we? But our finishing, as it has been for the last couple of games, It wasn't great. Too many shots straight at the keeper, which is an improvement on last week. Most of them were all off target. And then when you see Shaun Jeffers on the bench, you're thinking, oh, how many chances do we need to create to get a goal?
It was quite interesting. I had the pleasure of sitting down with David Noble for about 15 minutes in the week. And, you know, a bright, energetic conversation, very, you know, he was very pragmatic in the way he wanted to approach the game. And he said that he looked at the data and the stats that the players now give. And he said that Jeffers runs 70% less than Mitchell does. And, you know, we've said this before, and not wanting to reiterate a point, but you can look at stats in any way you really want to and manipulate them to your own devices. But I think at the minute, Shaun scores goals, and a point no more proven than when Mitchell was one-on-one with the keeper in the first half. And it's Mitchell brings a lot to the side, but finishing and scoring goals isn't one of his fortes. And I think I just don't want that to be that monkey on his back, because Mitchell Reese is a fantastic player for us and he's a great asset to have. There's an argument there. Maybe we've had a couple of messages and texts over the course of the last 3 days, Jake, that maybe it's time to play them both together and see how that goes, because that did sort of serve us pretty well early doors. But you reiterate about the finishing, Dave, and the fact is, mate, we're not scoring goals without the likes of Jeffers in there. Mitch will be forever a great player, great asset, but he doesn't score enough goals for us. And I think there's an issue there. And Nobby was very reiterate. He said, look, it's the work rate that I need. It's the speed that we need. It's the whole collective element and the balance of the side. He works so well with Cooper peeling off, making those runs. Mitchell does what he does. He feeds in other players. But where do we stand, boys? It'll be interesting to get your view, because we just don't score goals. And I don't want it to be a case of ifs and buts come at the end of the season because we've just lost by the odd goal.
One of the worst things that's happened in the football is analysis with computers. Get these machines and say, oh, look, he's run, as you say, 3 times the amount of running that Shaun Jeffers has done. Difference is, Shaun Jeffers scores 3 times the number of goals. Mitchell Weiss has played some really good games this season. Saturday was another one, but his finishing wasn't there. Shaun, 28 goals. Mitch is in double figures yet this season. Come on, the manager's got to see with his eyes, not with a computer. And you take away Mitch's goal, Shaun's goals, and put somebody in there who can run, gets a third of Shaun's goals. We would now be in the bottom half of the table without Shaun's goals. It's a nonsense argument. Goalkeepers are goal scorers. Goalkeepers ain't bad either. Goal scorers are a rare breed, quality ones, and you pay more for them. If it's that we can't afford him and we're trying to edge him out, well, I'm sorry, you've got to pay that for a goal scorer of Shaun's calibre. I hope that's not the reason. Another reason put forward is they're bust up with Nobby. I don't think that's the case either. I think it's the case you mentioned there, Lee. It is just for stats, and but the main stats is goals. They win your games, and that's it.
But,
You'll take on. Sorry, yeah.
No, I'm just going to sort of say that one point that Nobby also made is that you've got to trust him. And I said to him, well, no one doesn't trust you. You are our manager and you've done fantastic things. That's not an issue. Don't put that on the table. We all trust you implicitly. And if you're telling us that Mitchell starts is best for the team, then so be it. But you're going to be judged on the results of that entails. He did say that he didn't realise until he was a manager just how reluctant he was to run, Shaun. I said, well, look. And then I was speaking to Kevin Mudd in the pub before the game on Saturday, and everyone's got an opinion on how it should sort of play out. But Muddy just said, look, Steve Clarke, he didn't run, but he scored goals. And he won us countless games in doing so. So it's just a matter of how you want to manipulate it to fit the side. But that's where we are.
Muddy knows a thing or two about good strikers. You're right there, Lee. Ask him about Jimmy Bolton. What's your take on it, Jake?
No, I think I agree. I think you need a goal scorer, don't you? Especially at this stage of the season, you need a goal scorer out there. But then arguably that chance that Mitch didn't put away showed the best of him, didn't it? That burst through the middle, that pace and speed, and even that strength as well to shrug off those defenders. He did absolutely brilliant to get that. And it's just a shame, you know, he didn't put it away. And, you know, no one's a perfect goal scorer. We've seen Shaun miss plenty of chances this season to some extent. You know, certain games he's not had great games, but at this stage, you need someone out there to score goals. And even you saw on Saturday, he might not have put the penalty away, and it wasn't a great penalty, and you usually so reliable from there. But, you know, he was there. He had that instinct to follow up and get there and put the ball away on the rebound. You know, that it's just that natural striker's instinct, isn't it? And I think it's just so incredibly important.
Right, wakey, Neil. You've been watching the story from afar. You'd have noticed Shaun Jeffers keeps getting dropped. What's your take on it?
Well, I've got to be honest. The games I have seen this season, and a lot of them were earlier on this year, I was really, really disappointed with Shaun's work rate. Like what Nobby said, I didn't think, you know, he just did anything of note. Certainly when Ian was in charge at the beginning of the season, his performances were just really poor for me. I'm a Geordie. I want to see players give everything for the shirt. I want to see people put tackles in and run it. I want to see players look as if they're making an effort. And I didn't get that impression from Shaun earlier in the season. And I know what you're saying about goals, but didn't we have this same sort of conversation when Ishofano was at the club? You know, he scored plenty of goals, but was he the right fit for the team? And I think the general consensus with him was, no, he wasn't the right fit for the team. It's a tough balancing act for Nobby. He's obviously got his way of playing, and that's perfectly acceptable. But he's also got Shaun there, who, yes, scores goals, but is he contributing to the entire play? It really is a difficult one for him. And he's stuck with him for next season, isn't he? It's a 2-year contract. So, and he's on a hell of a lot of money. So it's going to cost a bit to get rid of him. They've got to try and find a way. I think what will happen in the playoffs, certainly tomorrow night, I think Shaun will start. I think when it comes to a one-off game in a playoff, you start him and you go for it. You've got no other choice. You know, you're either on holiday for a few weeks on Wednesday, or you give it a go. So,
but can I just say, Neil, sorry, mate, but if you don't trust Shaun to start in the previous 10 games, what makes it any difference now? If you believe in Vice and Cooper and Banton or whoever, what is the difference between? Because the thing is, Nobby is so stone-headed, and he's quite clear. He's quite clear, and that's brilliant, because the football we've been playing is fantastic, and everyone interlinks perfectly well. I see the value in both arguments. Yes, I know what you're saying. It's that free-flowing football. Nobby is an Arsenal man, and he likes those three strikers all interacting together and moving the defenders around and creating the space from the midfield runners. Perfect. But as you say, you know, Shaun Jeffers scores the goals, and I wouldn't mind if Cooper and Mitchell and Banton were scoring the goals on a regular basis, but they're not doing it. They are quite wasteful. So why would Nobby jeopardise that now in just to appease Shaun? Because it was quite evident from the discussion we had on Wednesday, he likes to bring Shaun on for the impact. He did it at Dartford. He did it on Saturday. So I don't see any reason why he's going to change the ethic now.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you lot see it a lot more than I do. I know, and I get that point as well. What you're saying, I don't know. I mean, I think looking from afar, I think Che Cooper he does seem to be scoring. I mean, he's got 7 or 8 goals this season.
6.
But how many times have we talking to Ian Allenson over the last few years, where he said the likes of Zane or Sean Lucien or Rhys Morrell-Williamson had to score up towards 15 goals a season? Well, Che Cooper looks like, if he played the full season, might have got up to 15 goals. So obviously he fits the mould. He fits what Nobby wants. Mitchell fits what he wants. It's just getting Shaun to do that little bit extra and link everything together, because he's the final piece of the jigsaw, isn't he? And if Shaun just altered his game slightly, he's not going to lose the goal scoring touch. Like Jake said, it's a natural instinct. It's an ability that he's got, and that's never going to go away. It just needs to be a little bit more in balance, in cohesion with the players around him. So I don't think he'll start. Like I say, it's a one-off game. You haven't got anything to lose. It's an absolute free hit. get him out there, score a couple. You can bring him off after that and shore it up and then play your football the way Nobby wants to do it. But get yourselves ahead and get yourselves on the front foot.
That's it, Neil, isn't it? It's a one-off game. You drop Shaun for a league game, you can bring him back next Saturday and try and make amends for it. But he's got 27 league goals. Zane's got 9. And you go beyond that, Mitchell Weiss 7 and Shea Cooper 6. None of them in double figures. For this one-off game, you've got to play your main marksman, surely. I'm guessing what you're going to say, Jake. You'd go along with that, wouldn't you? You start with Shaun now. You got a hat-trick when we played him in December, and it's against his former club. Crikey, he's going to be fired up.
Yeah, I think you've just summed it up, really. I think those two factors for me is how he's played against Chelmsford this season previously, really well. And also, it is against his former club. He joined us from Chelmsford. It was maybe a little bit of a gamble for him at the time, and he's come there and he's done a great job. And he will want to prove himself and prove to them what they lost and what he can do and get us through that one-off game. So for me, I would start him myself. And as well, this game could be on extremely fine margins. We've had previous games this season against, Dartford, Oxford City, all playoff teams. We haven't quite put the chances away if we're honest. Both those games we've probably should have taken leads, and that's cost us at the end. So, on Tuesday night, you've got to have someone out there that can take those, 30% chances, even less than that, because that could be what decides it on what could be a tense evening in Essex.
Looking elsewhere in the team, Karen Wiltshire went off injured before half-time Saturday. I haven't heard how he is. I don't know if any of you have. Ben Smith came in, did a decent job. If Karen can't make it, would you be happy for young Ben to start on Tuesday?
I think so. Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, I was impressed with him. As I say, I've not seen a great deal of him, but the fact is he seems really composed for someone so young, and he slots into that whole system effortless, But the thing is that for me now, I was explaining this in the pub beforehand, whereas maybe at the start of the season, Neil, this relates back to your point, where we're looking at the strength of the bench thinking, oh, who are we going to bring on that we can change the game? Now, we've got game changers in abundance. So the arguments now is like, which ones do we start? So it's a really good point to have. It's a really good argument to have. Ben Smith, no problem with that at all. We've seen him come in and do a fantastic job and excel as well. We know that Nobby likes him. We know he plays a sort of style of football that Nobby wants to impact the side with. So we're there. One point I would like to just go back on, if I may, slightly about Shaun Jeffers, and it shouldn't really surprise you, but I think kudos to the way he's conducted himself, because he could have sulked on being dropped. We've seen it before, Dave, with strikers. Theo being a prime example, sort of in recent years. Shaun has been absolutely exceptional, and not that you would expect him to sulk and moan and shrug his shoulders and stuff, but he's been fantastic. He's still come on. He's been at the disposal of the manager, and he's still impacted games. So I think that's a massive, massive plus for us. Even if he doesn't start, we still know he's going to have an impact on the game at some point. But yes, getting back to your point, Dave, apologies. Ben Smith, no problem. Fantastic player.
Well, one other change, which I would make, I'd bring Glenn McConnell in. One-off game. Could take a flash of inspiration to settle it, open it up and decide it. You don't get a second chance. I'd bring him in. Who would you drop? Shea Cooper, Mitchell Weiss, or Zane Banton, I guess, would be the three main options. At the moment, I think it would have to be Paul Zane. He had a terrific first half of the season. I think last few weeks he's been a little bit off. I don't know if he's tired or whatnot, but he did that terrific volley Saturday, which is just wide. I think I'd probably sacrifice Zane at the moment for Glenn. Others may not. What do you think?
I mean, I think if Shaun starts, I think Mitch is on the bench. I think because Nobby will like that alternative option to come off the bench. I don't think he'll start. I'd like them to start together because I think some of the best football they've played together has come together. And I don't think that's particularly a controversial opinion, that. But I think if the change does come, I think Mitch will be on the bench. And I don't know about Glenn. I don't know if he'll get into the team on Tuesday. I think Nobby will trust Zane. I think he can. and then Shea gives that sort of option of running and potential goal scoring. So I think for both Glenn and Mitch, they're massive decisions on Tuesday night, and I'm glad I'm not Nobby making these decisions. I'll be honest.
We had an email in the week, Tabs, and there was Ryan emailed us and said that Cooper's played a lot of games recently, and could be a massive boost coming off of the bench. So maybe there's an argument for sort of him to be dropped and come on as an impact player.
I think the highlights on Saturday exaggerate his performance. I don't think he had that big an impact, but highlights make it look rather good. I mean, I like Shea. Let's get this straight. I've said it several times. I fancy him for the future. He's a good player. His finishing of late has been a little bit off. He got him on target Saturday, straight at the keeper, but at least they were on target. Previous week, they're going wide. He could be one to bring Glenn in for, but I agree with Jake. I don't see Glenn actually starting.
No, I'd be interested to get Neil's opinion again on this. So in terms of, at this stage, do you want to trust the players like Zane and Mitch over the younger lads, or what would you think?
It's one of them things. You're not going to like this, but I'll hark back to Steve Evans at Stevenage. He was talking about one-off games, like, for example, when they played Villa earlier in the season. And he says you've got to be still in it with 20 minutes to go in a one-off game. So, yes, you go for it. You've got to go for it. But at the same time, you can't be 2-0 down at the end going for it. You've got to be, at least within a goal or ahead or level. So I think the pragmatic side, the experienced professional side of Nobby will say perhaps trust the older heads. But from what I've seen from afar, the loan system seems to be working fantastic at Saints at the minute, because McConnell looks good. I only caught his debut when he played at Oxford, but even then there was something about him. There was just that, whether it was just the rolled down socks and there was a throwback to something very, very different about him, and something that looked and felt a little bit special. Cooper as well, like I say, he looks as if he's doing great stuff, but Saints are good in a one-off games, but you do need that experienced head to just guide you through. So, but I think you're right. I think Mitch will start on the bench if Shaun starts, but Zane, I think, is a guaranteed starter. Got to be.
All right, fair enough. You mentioned, Jake, about it's raining. Rain, I've got my watch now. That's not good. You mentioned about Weiss and Jeffers together. It certainly worked first half of last season, Jake, so there's no reason why it shouldn't work now, surely. If anything, we've got more creative players now around them.
No, I agree, but I just don't see Nobby changing at this stage myself, unless he wants to spring a surprise, which, he could well do. But I agree, I think it works really well, but I just don't see it coming on Tuesday night.
No. Neil, this season, well, you've taken a year off from football, haven't you? You've been covering Stevenage. Where you been making it?
I've been guiding them up to League One. I've done a fantastic job in Borough this year. Really have. Yes, I'm planning to go tomorrow. The question it's Chelmsford. The question is, will you and Jake get there or get back? That's the question. Whether I'll get there. No, yeah.
Jake has turned down the offer. Hello, what's happening here? Everything's falling down.
No.
Jake's turned down the offer of a lift, but Ian Hall, he's obviously got a short memory. He's going to come with me tomorrow night.
No, I'll be going, and I'll be at that game tomorrow. I won't make it to the semis if you get there, but definitely at Chelmsford.
But they got a 3,000 capacity there. It's not the greatest ground in the world for watching football. They got a temporary stands behind both goals now, which helps a little bit, but generally it's not one of the greatest at watching because you've got the running track around it. 3,000 crowd. Saturday, we 3,696 at Clarence Park. What a sight, wasn't it?
It was absolutely awe-inspiring. We made new friends, we got new memories, and it's just maybe a new beginning for this fantastic football club, and long may it continue. The one thing I would say is that I was scrolling through my phone over the past a few days. I took so many photos just of how the day unfolded, and with people who wanted selfies, and it was great, it was brilliant. those are the sorts of memories that football clubs are built on half the sort of time. And the connections now the club has got with the fans is absolutely the best it's been, in my opinion. You know, you can take or leave quite a lot of the initiatives that the club do, but there's no argument. Saturday was a massive, massive plus. Everyone arm in arm, just celebrating this fantastic achievement. And I think what that will now do, hopefully, is set a very solid foundation. And I hate to say it, I pain to say it, because they've got no fans really, but Stevenage, the setup of how a club can progress, if people believe in it, I think is key. The fans will, you know, the fans have always believed in Nobby and the way he plays football and what he brings to the side. To have that many fans at a club, really, Taz, I mean, in our lifetimes, it's just a sight to behold, mate. We got in and the terraces were packed and the old girl was rocking and it was great. And it wasn't the loudest it's been this season, but it's certainly, I think there was a vibe of, I don't know, almost nervousness, but, you know, just expectancy as well. And the scenes at the end, just amazing. And something for me will live on, because the friends we made and the conversations we had and the longevity it will create, those are the things that will take us forward and upwards.
Jake, when you started watching us, the crowds weren't particularly great, were they? And I remember at a time when the owners came in, one of them said he wanted crowds of 1,500 every week. Well, it's taken us 12 years. We've got to 1,400 average now, thanks to these ridiculous high gates of the last 3 home games. Just about 2,000 for 2 games running, then 3,700 Saturday. Can it be maintained? The problem is, if we're in National League South next season, it'd be tough to maintain it. We could get shifted into National League North, of course, which would be interesting. But the National League, getting to that one, you have more away fans coming. So big crowds could be with us for quite a while to come with a bit of luck.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't see why we can't maintain it next season, whatever league we're in. You know, I think that we're building that basis now. I think Saturday was a really good example. You know, people enjoyed themselves. It was good fun. People will want to come back. You know, a lot of those people won't go to Chelmsford or the playoff games because, you know, they're not necessarily that hardcore yet, if you want to say it like that. But, you know, they're building that basis. It's a place to go on a Saturday afternoon in St Albans, and it's absolutely brilliant. I think we have to commend the club for what they've done and how they've achieved it. It is absolutely superb. And, you know, at the end of the day, not long ago, we were getting crowds of 300. We had a club that, you know, was teetering on the brink at times. You know, these crowds, even if it's at 1,500, not 3,600 every week, that makes a club much more sustainable. We want a club that's going to be here for so many years to come for the people of St Albans. And if the crowds can help sustain that, that's absolutely brilliant. And I think it's worth mentioning, it was the biggest crowd in the National League South this season, wasn't it? Which is absolutely amazing. I think looking at the non-league crowd's Twitter account, it was the 7th biggest crowd outside the Football League this season. On Saturday. Absolutely amazing. So just really, really good. And it was, as Lee said, all good-natured. Everyone had fun. And it's exactly what, you know, a non-league football club is and what it should be.
What sort of gates do they get at Broadall Farm or whatever it's called, Neil?
They've been averaging, I think this season, what's the average? It's about 3,500, 4,000, I think, this year. Average. They got 6,500 on Saturday. So it's not
terrific, isn't it?
It's not too bad. I mean, you know, it's a decent crowd for Saints. It's not as good as South Shields, obviously. You know, you'll have to work to be as good as them lots. So.
Yeah, right. You find the park's changed a bit since you were last down there. We've got floodlights and things now. It's terrific.
Well, bulbs at work and everything.
Steady on, mate. That's one step
far.
too far, Neil. That's one step too far, man.
It's funny, actually, not to put a damper on things, but one of the supporters who went on the pitch, along with goodness knows how many others, including you, Lee, he came off it and he said, it's lush. You look at it, it is lush, plenty of grass on it, but you can feel the bobbles. And when you watch the highlights back, that short corner when Tafari Moore and Shea Cooper tackled each other, the ball goes like that before it gets to him. And Devante, before he had his shot, again, the ball bobbled. So it's going to be a bit of work needed on the pitch over the summer, you would have thought.
There is. And thank you for highlighting the fact I managed to get over the barriers, Taz, to be fair. That was an effort within itself, my friend. But the one thing was really good because the pitch has been criticised quite heavily this season, and it's been miraculous that we've had the sort of players we have been playing, the sort of football we have been playing, because it doesn't lend itself automatically to free-flowing, crisp, slick passing football. So I think it's a testament to the quality of the players to get that done anyway. One little sort of tidbit, if I may. You've got the tannoy announcer asking for everyone to please vacate the pitch, where you've got the stewards helping people on the pitch to help them sort of join in the celebrations, which was lovely. But as Jake said, it was all good-natured. Everyone was there to celebrate the club. And it was really good for me just to see so many families as well, because you can have the youth element to it, but without the longevity and the families and creating that legacy within a household to follow the Saints. You know, you can have these glory days now, but we want many, many, many more going down throughout the years. So, and games like Saturday will help maintain that as well.
You talk about the stewards there, Lee. You had Gordon Kennyford doing that with the fans behind the goal while the game was going on. And you see, not only the kids were loving it as well, but it was adults as well. And it helped keep the atmosphere going right to the end of the game. And I tell you what, Gordon must have a good printing machine, because he got the Club of the Year award as well.
He was out of control. He was out of control, the poor lad. I mean, but the thing is, Gordon has been there, and Gordon does all the horrible jobs that no one really wants to do, and you don't really appreciate the need doing at a club of ours. You know, he sweeps the change rooms, he cleans the toilets, he just loves stuff around. He's like been one of the mainstays, even when I was part of the side there. So it was just, he loves the club, and this is what I'm talking about. From one end to the club to the other, it matters to everybody, no matter of your status, no matter of where you are. It's a brilliant thing, and I don't think they had that at Stevenage. If I'm honest, that takes time and that takes investment. So we are very fortunate in that element. Gordon, such a very worthy winner of the supporter, the volunteer award. So, and you know what? Without people like that, clubs like ours don't exist.
Yeah, Gordon, the Andre Previn of non-league football. Right, let's have some predictions. While you chuckle away there, Lee, we'll go over to Jake. What do you reckon, Jake? Tuesday night at Chelmsford. It's a 7:30 kickoff, by the way, not 7:45.
3-1 Saints.
Hey!
I don't know.
Not another Jeffers hat-trick, surely. Lee?
Do I really want to do a prediction? Because, you know, 2-1. 2-1 to the mighty Saints.
You're well ahead this season. Jake's only got one right, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Come on, Neil, let's get you in on this as well. Someone's got to get it right.
Hey, hang on. Playoff games are usually bonkers, so I'm going to go 3-3 Saints win on penalties.
Good Lord.
But you're
Goodness
right.
me.
The playoff games, you get so many stayed league games. You get to the playoffs, and so often you see some crackers. We've seen some crackers down the years.
It'll be 4-3, 5-4, something stupid like that. It'll just, you know, there will be a playoff game somewhere that will happen like that in the National League South. It's just guaranteed fact. Everyone goes nuts. So yeah, I think Saints. I honestly think Saints will go up. I really do. You know, now you have got there finally. I think it's one-off games. These cup matches, you seem to do very, very well in that you pull them out of the hat. So I honestly think Saints are going to go up. I've looked at the other six and I'm thinking, really, are those is that the best the National League South's got to offer? You know? Yeah,
but when you look at our record against them, Neil, and was it 2 wins in 12 games against the 6 sides above us?
Well, you generally do better against the sides higher up the table and away from home, don't you? It's the ones down the bottom that Saints have traditionally struggled against. So I honestly, for once, and I'm normally pessimistic Joe here, but I honestly think that Saints will do it. So you'll probably get it.
Win on pens. I'll make a note there so we can get in touch with your editor and say what the heck's he doing, the sports editor.
But the one thing I would say though is the fact that all of the players, they're brave. There's no fear, and it doesn't matter which team Noble does pick. it's just they play without fear, and I think that's just the beauty of it now. And yes, they could be these potential young loanee stars from the Football League, but you know, they want to play for the side. And I think Noble reiterated that at the recent fans forum. Che Cooper, McConnell, they message them, they love it here. And I think that we don't fear anybody. You know, even when we played the top teams, okay, we may not have won the game, but I tell you what, we've played exceptionally well, you know, and I think there's nothing there to suggest we should fear anyone going into this playoff period.
Jake, you'll be behind the goal. Melbourne Park's not the easiest place at which to create a good atmosphere, but I'd imagine it's going to be pretty raucous behind the goal.
I think it will be. I think, you know, and the great thing is we're going to have many hundreds there tomorrow night. If not, it could be verging on thousands. You know, it could be over 1,000 Saints fans there tomorrow night. You know, we're all planning on how we're going to get there and, you know, how we're going to do it. You know, it's not ideal. 7:30 kickoff. Well, who cares? I think we can have really great support there. And, you know, the amount of people I've heard that have got tickets already is absolutely brilliant. I think we have to tell the whole story as well. Chelmsford, you know, they're going to be difficult, but also they don't go into it in spectacularly impressive form themselves. They lost on Saturday. They drew against Hemel last Saturday. I think as well, I think the defeat on Saturday for them will have been a bit of a blow because I don't think they expected to be finishing where they were. I think they thought they could still get, you know, a third and a fourth place if they win on Saturday, but they kind of blew it themselves by losing to Taunton, and now they've got to fancy us. Looking on their forum, I think a lot of them were like, we've missed a trick here, not getting ourselves through to the semi-final. We've got to play on Tuesday night now against a team that are in form. And also they're missing probably one of their best players at the back at the minute, Dave Winfield, the big lad at the back, the number 5, who is certainly difficult to go up against. I think they'll probably try and rush him back for Tuesday. But you know, I think if you compare it the two sides, you saw the scenes of celebrations at the end with the players and the fans and the confidence it's built. You've seen the posts from the players on social media, even the post-match awards. There's hundreds of Saints fans there watching everyone get the awards at the end. I can't ever remember that at a post-season awards. Absolutely brilliant. The whole atmosphere was really good. So we go there full of confidence. Of course, this could be an absolute banana skin, but you know, out of all the scenarios that you want to go into a playoff eliminator in, I think we are almost perfectly set, aren't we, in terms of just going there very happy and very confident. And I think also just a sense of whatever happens, let's just see. We've had a really good season under David Noble. He's done a great job. Let's see how far we can get.
You mentioned Dave Winfield there, Jake. He's, 35 now, I think. So he's certainly experienced, but he's been sent off twice since the end of January, so you wonder how long he lasts tomorrow night. And also, we go there unbeaten in our last 5 visits to Melbourne Park, and beat them 3-0 in December. As we mentioned, Shaun hat-trick. Everything's in our favour. We've got to go full of confidence.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, isn't it? Compared to that first game of the season, we went there, wasn't a great game. We probably shaded it to some extent. Mitchell Weiss picked up an injury that kept him out for about 4 months. Their fans were protesting outside the ground. They were boycotting. Their volunteers were boycotting as well. And now suddenly the two of us meet in the playoffs. It's just amazing how much can happen in a season, isn't it? So it's exciting. It's just great to be there, though, isn't it? Whatever happens, just amazing. It almost doesn't feel real. We've actually, like Neil said, we've finally actually got to the playoffs. What the hell? Like, this is amazing.
Our season started at Melbourne Park. We don't want it to end there.
Very good.
Right, are we done? We go and get our get ready for the big one.
We yes, but I just want to say thank you to Neil for sort of turning up today. Jake, we were absolutely mobbed on Saturday with fans wanting to sort of, they saying how much they loved the pod, selfies and pictures and celebrations and hugs and kisses and beers spilt and all of that sort of thing. So please do keep the messages coming in. We do read them all. We try and get through as many as what we can on air here. Thank you for the emails. Jacob, my young friend, is going to give you all the information you need to get in touch.
Yeah, it's at Podful of Saints on Twitter, and the email address is in the message below. I want to hear from Neil. Have you got any final words of encouragement for us, Neil? A final message of good luck?
What? Like I say, when does my good luck ever work for you? I've been following you for years. I've been to many places to see playoff dreams die in a smoky pit.
This is what we need.
Listen, I've said it already. I honestly think Saints are going to do it this year. Now yous have got there. It's been a long time coming, but now yous have got there. This is it. You're going up, or like Dave says, you're going to South Shields next year.
Yes, thanks, Neil. You've really boosted us, Neil. Thanks.
Well, that's a nice seaside town for you, though, Dave. You'll enjoy that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we got one of these a few years ago. National League South runners-up medal. So if we're going to South Shields next year, Neil, we'll have to get a runners-up National League North.
Exactly. No, honestly, you'll go up and you'll have a nice trip to Hartlepool and Gateshead next year instead.
That's the spirit.
On that note,
yeah, we will speak to you again, I'm sure, at some point this week. So goodbye, everyone, and best of luck to the Saints tomorrow evening. Bye-bye.
Yeah, many thanks, Neil.
Cheers now.